The C word, the naughty real estate C word. We're going to talk about commission cutters this morning. Get what you pay for. Stay tuned.
Well, good morning, Billy.
Hello. How are you?
Hello. Good. Controversial Tuesday. This is a big topic. We were meant to discuss it last week, but your birthday took precedence.
It did. So we're bringing it to air today for you. We actually had some people asking for this after we postponed it. So here it is. Yeah,
Here
this
it
is a big topic, and it's like it's almost taboo to be talking about commissions. It's like you go and sit with a client, you tell them everything they sort of want to hear, all their questions, and you leave commission till the end. 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's always one of those. I think people find it quite awkward. It's in the top 3 things that I address first when I'm doing a presentation, because I just figure just tell people what they want to know. You know, they want to know what is the opinion of value on your property, how much is it going to cost to get my property to market, and what are the fees that you charge. But, you know, Billy, how many times have you had a phone call from a vendor who has said to you, so we also interviewed X, their commission is far lower than yours, and, you know, could you match that? What do you reckon about that, Billy? What do you say to that?
Yeah, we do hear it quite a lot. I guess it's like turning up at the car yard, looking at all the brand new cars and working out, you know, which one you're going to buy from. But there's a big difference between a product and a service. You know, people are used to shopping products where you effectively looks like you're buying the same thing, but with a service, it's very different. And I had a good little one-liner here, and it goes like this. Vendors might think I'm saving 0.1% commission, but what if my agent gets me 5% more sale price? The incremental commission may be dwarfed by incremental sale price. And it's so true. Like, we're talking about someone's largest asset here, and you know, the swing on a 1% commission for $1 million is far less than a 5% sale price swing.
Agreed. So here's the thing, and I'm just going to say it out straight, and I'm not going to hold back. You ready?
Yeah, fire.
You get what you pay for. So, you know, if there's agents out there, so New South Wales, and I know things changed quite dramatically, actually. We were just talking about this before we came on air. I'd hazard a guess that on the Northern Beaches, the commissions range anywhere between 1.5 to 2% plus GST. That's what we understand. There are different areas. Like, for instance, I know some agents that are out in the western suburbs and they're doing 3% commissions, and that's the norm out there. But we're talking about Northern Beaches centric. But really, guys, the same rule applies. If you've got an agent that is flaunting a very, very cheap commission, the chances are that's all they're worth. That's the bottom line, right? The good old saying, you get what you pay for. You know, and then it always sets alarm bells off for me when they're going, and I'm going to do 1%, and I'm going to throw in all your styling, and I'm going to pay for all your realestate.com and domain marketing. And it's like, okay, but why? So chances are they're the only tools they have in their belt. That is the reality. Listen, it's happened to me before, where a vendor has said, unless you can do a 1% commission, we'll go with that other person. And I'm like, this is not going to be a slippery slope ride down to the bottom. It's not going to be a chase to the bottom on who can do the cheapest commission. There is a vast difference between a cheap agent and a really good agent. There is a vast difference. And it's a funny thing about real estate, Billy, because if this was, you sitting in front of a heart surgeon and you're trying to negotiate the cheapest rate possible for a really, really good heart surgeon, like, it just doesn't happen.
It's true. True.
It just doesn't,
And
it just doesn't happen.
yeah, that's right. And then, to put it into perspective, the average commission for Sydney is 2.1%. That's across the board. So if you're
Across the
looking for
board,
an
right?
average, there you are. Yeah, that
Yeah,
takes into
yeah.
consideration the highs and the lows. Liz, can we chat about the flexi fee? This has been the biggest game changer for our business because it's the closest thing we've been able to do and put in front of clients to say, you know what, guys, we actually don't care about the commission. The commission is not the reason we get out of bed. I can promise you, if you were really, really focused about dollars and cents, real estate would not be the industry to work in. We work far too many over hours to put that into the commission when you monetize out the number of hours and phone calls and text messages, not just working for the seller, of course, but taking the buyer inquiries. Let's talk
My
about the
God.
flex.
Yeah, listen, that's a really, really good topic right there, Billy. I was talking to a really lovely client last night who I called up at 8 o'clock at night, and I had spoken with him across the whole weekend. And he said to me, Lisa, do you actually ever have any time off? And I had a giggle and I said, you know what, Dan? I said, if I amortized out the amount of hours that I worked, the hourly rate, I don't know that the hourly rate's that appealing. But listen, no one's crying for the real estate agent, right? That's the truth. No one is. But the flexi fee, that was a game changer for our business. What is it? It's a range that we give to our clients. So we go, here you go, Billy, here's the range. It's between X and Y. And once the property is sold, you can nominate to pay whatever you want to pay us within that range. We just ask you to take into account service and results.
Yeah.
And it's a funny thing because when I'm sitting in front of a client and I'm presenting, they look super confused. They're like, huh? I don't understand. What, you're going to let me choose my commission? Absolutely. We're going to leave that up to you. We're going to ask you to trust us that we are going to get you the absolute best result. And in return, we're also going to trust that you will remunerate us accordingly.
Yeah. Well, it gives
And we leave that to them.
It actually stumps people. They're like, what? Like, can you reiterate that? You mean it? You mean like we're not fixed into a number? And it's like, yep. It's been the biggest game changer. It's actually allowed, I personally think, the real estate agent to sit in front of the client and present themselves based on service, not based on fee. And you've got to think, if we were all competing on fee, then we'd have a problem. It really would be a race to the bottom, but it should not be a race to the bottom on fee. It really should be pitching service. That's what you're offering.
I agree. So you only just need to jump onto our latest review that went online. I did put it onto my social media. And, there lies the truth. There's a, lovely couple that you and I, Billy, just sold for. And they're like, here you go. Here's the commission that we'd like to nominate. And a wonderful review that went along with it. So, certainly we risk that we're going to get paid at the bottom end of that scale. We risk that. But it's quite incredible, actually. A lot of people say to me, Billy, well, wouldn't we just nominate to pay you at the lowest fee? It's like, but if that's your choice, we'll leave that up to you. But let's have the conversation when you're sold and let's see what results we achieve for you. And the service that we provided, we can have that conversation then, but we're going to leave that entirely up to you. I would say that, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Billy, but I would say that at least 90% of people do not opt to pay at the bottom.
Yeah, it's incredibly satisfying when you get to that end, and it's because it's effectively like a tipping service, tipping bonus. So that's kind of how it's how it's done. It's incredibly satisfying. But even even if it's not at that top end, it generally means that flexibility has allowed them to move on to their next step. And as a local family, like selling to a local family, you'd be crazy to sit in the way of someone's next chapter. So it's just a no-brainer. Like, you've done the hard work, you've got a good result. If that allows a bit of flexibility, then great.
Well, that's exactly right. But I think the important thing here is that we just left it up to the client. We said, there you go. And it's a very fair range and it's a wide range. And we've just said to our clients, there you go. You know, it's always this awkward conversation for a client for some reason about commission. It just is. It's never for me. I'm actually super proud of what we're able to offer to a client. That flexibility, I think, has been an absolute game changer. And then there's also the conversation. I find often at the higher level vendors like to opt for what's called a sliding scale commission.
Yep.
Which is somewhat of a remuneration commission as well. It's like, okay, well, Lisa, if you get me, as an example, if you get me $3 million, I will pay you X commission. Anything over $3 million, I'm happy to put a bit of a kicker in there, and it's all documented in the agency agreement. And then, you know, there's an incentive there to get over and above a certain amount. That's a sliding scale commission. And, you know,
Yeah.
we're certainly always open to that as well. But, you know, I just want to draw down on the fact that, you know, these super low commissions should be setting alarm bells off for you. I think a better question, if you're a vendor and you're watching this, I think a better question to ask is, why are you cheaper than all the other agents? Honestly, I think that's a great question to ask.
Boom drop. Yeah.
I think that's a good question to ask. But as I said, you get what you pay for, and that's probably because that's all that agent is worth. Sorry to be the one to give you the blatant and honest truth, but you know that it is the truth. Look, the wonderful thing about our industry is that it is such a transparent industry. You can go online, you can do digital interviews on real estate agents if they have no reviews. You know, if they haven't sold huge amounts in that region, in that area, that should be starting to set alarm bells off. And then in addition to that, you know, if they're offering up this super cheap commission, really, guys, alarm bells should be going off. And for anyone that wants to opt to go with the cheaper agent, by all means, but sign into a really short agency agreement. Because I've had vendors that have opted to go with the cheap agent and it hasn't worked out very well, and then haven't been able to get them out of their agency agreement. They've had them locked into it. Probably the worst one that I saw was they had them locked into it for 6 months. Six
wow.
months. So, you know, be real careful, guys. Be real careful before you go signing those agency agreements. And as I said, best question to ask is, why are you so much cheaper than all the other agents that I've interviewed?
There you go. Have a great day.
Thanks, Billy. Have a good one. See you guys.
See ya.
Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.